Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. So today I'm making a lovely quilt for the green painted bed. So I want to show you how I added fabric around the edges of this beautiful sample that was sent to me by one of my precious dolls. Now the part I added is the part around the perimeter. Now this is the part that I'm going to use on the underside, and it's a piece of fabric that looks like a quilt. So the part that I added to extend it just made it long enough so that it would give a nice drop around the sides and over the doll's feet. Now, if you're new to my channel, I normally use a water and glue solution to shape my linens to conform them to my bed and to give them that draped look. So today I'm going to be using mesh wire in between these two pieces of fabric. Now, this is the actual bed and the mattress that I made in a previous video. I will leave a link in the description. So right now I'm just playing around with the fabric to see how I'm going to line up the patterns before I put the mesh wire between the two layers. I'm really excited about using this technique because I've never used it before. I was sent this really great mesh wire from one of my precious dolls. I really do appreciate this because it challenges me to use some materials that I've never used before. Well, I more or less mean I've never used them before in this fashion. So the idea behind this is to put the mesh wire in between these two pieces of fabric. Now, instead of using glue to secure the pieces together, I will be actually sewing. So I'm going to do some very simple stitches with a needle and thread. But first, I'm using my clover iron to flatten the fabric and just to make sure everything is smooth. Now, the areas where I added the additional pieces of fabric, you can really tell the added fabric by my pre-K stitches. My stitches are pretty pitiful, but I'm going to flatten them out anyway with the iron so that everything lays out nice and smooth so that I'll really be able to see the full extension with the additional fabrics. Now you can see as I'm ironing, you can see my stitches through the seams. I may have to reinforce those, but the lighter fabrics on the perimeter are the ones I added. I'm really grateful for receiving that beautiful sample for the center of this quilt. I think it'll make a perfect heirloom gift for our newlyweds. Now, dolls, I always want to caution you anytime you're using the clover iron, be very, very cautious and always be aware of where your fingers are. The clover iron is unforgivingly hot. Don't sit it down on anything because it will melt it. It absolutely will melt it. And again, I'm just smoothing out those areas so everything lays nice and flat so I can have a nice smooth surface so I'll know exactly how big I made the quilt and how it will extend to the bottom piece to cover the wire that's going to be on the inside. Now, dolls, I didn't show me sewing the little hand stitches around the edges of the fabric, but you can see my little raggedy stitches. It was super boring for me to do, so I'm sure it would have been super boring for you to watch. But now that it's done, I'm going to turn quilt right side out so you can see what it looks like. Now this is just a peek inside so you can see that I've created like a pocket. Now that everything is right side out, you can see it's almost like it looks like a pillowcase. And I'm just pulling the corners to make sure they're pulled out to their fullest extent so we'll have a full quilt. Now let's go ahead and add the wire. Now this is a wire. Now you have to be really careful with a process like this because the edges of the wire are a little bit sharp. Now, if I had been thinking properly, I may have taped the perimeter or the edges of what I was going to put inside the blanket, but I didn't, dolls, but it worked out fine. So here I am again using my very precise measuring technique, just laying the mesh wire on top of the blanket to see how big it needs to be before I cut it. Now I did just use my simple electrical scissors to cut through the mesh wire. It wasn't difficult to cut, but again, be very careful if you try this technique so that you don't cut yourself on the edge of the wire. After I measured and cut the wire, I went ahead and tucked it inside my little quilt pocket as if it were the batting. And after I got the wire inside and arranged like in from corner to corner, now that I have the mesh wire arranged on the inside, I smoothed everything out and made sure everything was flat again, making sure it was corner to corner. The edge that was left open, I folded it in and actually began to pin it before I sewed it up to close it. So it's nice and rigid, it's firm, but it's very flexible. So I put the pins in so I would know where I was sewing it. Now, I could go through it and sew through the wire, but I'm not going to do that, dolls. Now, here I am pressing it down on my bed to give it the shape or making it contour to the mattress and the actual body of the bed. And it was really great because just pressing it firmly with my hands, the wire conformed to whatever way I pushed it. So now that my blanket was all done, it was time for me to consider my pillows. Now, when it comes to pillows, dolls, I do like to do pillowcases. Now, I had made some pillows previously from another video. I will leave a link in the description for my pillows, but here I'm actually ironing the seams to two pieces of fabric that I'm using to make my pillowcases. And again, I will leave a link in the description for a full tutorial of me making pillowcases. Now, dolls, if you're new to my channel, I'm not a big fan of things matching. I'm more into things coordinating. And the settings of my doll houses are about some families that live pretty modestly. So a lot of their things are salvaged, passed down, secondhand, or made from remnants of other things. So in that case, things wouldn't be matchy-matchy. So now I have two pillowcases that coordinate well with the look of my bed. Now that the pillowcases are done, let's go ahead and make some pillows. Now, dolls, when I say make pillows, I didn't necessarily mean the bed pillows because I actually had some of those left over from one of my other bed making videos. So I will leave a link in the description for that. So I'm going to just tuck these pillows inside the pillowcases. Now this is made out of some red and white striped fabric that kind of reminds you of what they call cotton ticking. And I really think that looks cute peeking from the side of the pillow like that. So now that the main pillows are done and ready to go, I think the bed could use a couple decorative pillows. I always think that looks nice. Now I had a couple pillows that I had made for a previous project and I didn't like them. So I cut them in half and I'm going to use them as the insides or fillers for some decorative pillows. And I have these cute little crochet doily-like pieces that came in some items that I was given. And I think they'll look really cute to be a nice embellishment on some of these pillows. Now this is just a small piece of foam that came with something, was packed with one of my items that I received. And I cut it in a circle and kind of wedged it out so that it'd be a nice shape as a decorative pillow on the bed. Now, while I'm waiting for the edge of those pillows to dry, I just want you to see how nicely the bedspread drapes with the wire on the inside. So let me show you what I can do with it with the wire on the inside. I can kind of bend it and shape it down and it stays, and I could bend it back and it stays, or I could like scrunch it up or bend it down on the side. Isn't that cute? So going forward, I'll definitely be keeping mesh wire in my back pocket as a part of my linen or bedspread making arsenal. And dolls, here you see I've grabbed a couple pieces of fabric to cover up those little beige pillows that I salvaged from another project. So I'm going to cover them with some different fabric to make 3 assorted decorative pillows for the bed. Now, dolls, my fabrics weren't pre-selected, so I'm just kind of feeling my way here to see which fabrics I like the best. I really did like this one because it had some of the same tones and hues that are in the same color family that are already in the quilt. Now, I just made a really simple pillow, making it almost like a little piece of ravioli. And I pulled out some other little embellishments, trying to decide which ones I would use as the little decoration or embellishments on the pillows. Now, literally, these are like the really quick pillows. I'm just adding a little glue around the perimeter. This is a really pretty soft velvet fabric that I had. And I think velvet is always nice for a decorative pillow on a bed. And again, just folded it over, pinched it. Like I said, sort of like I'm making a little ravioli pocket. Now, dolls, if you make this type of pillow, you definitely want to allow the glue to dry before you manipulate it too much because you're going to want to trim off a lot of that excess, but it needs to be completely dry before you do that. Now, this is a little piece of foam that I cut into a circle and kind of wedged it out. And I was thinking about using the same fabric that I made the square one with, but I really wanted to mix it up. I really wanted a little contrast. So I opted to use the fabric that I had made the actual pillowcases out of. And I cut a random circle. It's not perfect, dolls. It doesn't need to be. as long as it covers the little spongy circle that I'm using as the pillow. And I placed it in the center and then laid the matching circle on top and pinched it all the way around just like I did the square pillows. Now you want to just squeeze it. You definitely want to have enough glue so you'll get a nice tight fit, because these type of pillows aren't loose. They're nice and kind of tight and fluffy like. I think it's really cute how the glue started to kind of pucker the fabric a little bit to almost make it look gathered around the edges. So after I felt like I had pinched the brown pillow enough, I laid it to the side to dry. And then I started to think about which of these little crocheted flowers I was going to put on, or which pillow. So I glued the pink one onto this one. And then I had a random thought about cutting the bed pillow in half and making more pillows. But no, let me move on. So here's a little velvet pillow. Now I'm trimming off the excess glued part of the round pillow so it'll have a nice shape and it won't be oversized. Now I did use my needle and thread to sew through the middle to add like a little dimple in the middle of that pillow to give additional variation. And I did use a small purple seed bead, kind of a pearlized seed bead in the center of that. Again, just to make it a little bit different from the two square pillows. After I was done making a little round pillow, it definitely needed some trim around it. And as usual, I always have some ideas in my head, but sometimes it doesn't work out the way you imagine it. So this is another reason why you don't want to be too set or decided on a particular thing. You want to stay adaptable and flexible when you're creating. Leave your options open so your imagination can flow. And after I played around with my options, I decided on this one. It had double loops around it, and it was more of the cream color. I thought it looked really nice. And just when I thought I knew what I was going to do with the pink velvet pillow, I found a little scrap remnant of some trim that I had had, at least 2 or 3 years now, and it worked out perfect for the little pillow. Now, for those of you who've been following my channel a while, you can tell by now this bed is going to be for Marguerite and Sadi after they get married. So now that their bed is ready, we can go ahead and focus on items and things that they're going to need for the wedding. I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to all my subscribers. I appreciate you so much, and I'm so excited about the growth of the channel. I have so much in store for you dolls. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, you can always look for me on Mondays and Wednesdays after 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're watching and enjoying this content and you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. I've truly enjoyed sharing this with you dolls today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye-bye now, dolls.